Hey guys, it's City here and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about goldfish and if they're the right pet for you. Sorry about my voice in this video, I'm kind of losing it a little bit again, so sorry about that. So as you can see behind me, I have a few goldfish in this tank and I've wanted to make a video about them for a while, especially because lately on places like TikTok and stuff like that, I've been seeing so many videos of people incorrectly caring for goldfish or literally abusing goldfish for fun, and it's really horrible. There's so much of it online and it's really sad to see that people don't seem to care about these fish enough. So I wanted to make a video on why goldfish, in my opinion, shouldn't be as common pets as they are and why they're more work than you probably think. So I want this video to help you guys decide whether or not you want to get a goldfish if you are looking into getting one, and why I think they shouldn't be, you know, the stereotypical pet that you get for your kid, put it in a bowl and teach them about death. You know, it's a living thing. They're very intelligent and need a lot of care just like all animals do. So yeah, I'm going to be giving as much information as I can in this video, but I don't want it to be too long, so make sure you do your own research as well. Don't just watch this video, there's plenty of other videos on YouTube, as well as so many goldfish forums you can go on and have a look and ask questions to. Please be aware that there's a lot of pet stores out there that do give incorrect information just to sell more products, and that a lot of the time, especially chain pet stores, they don't really care much about the quality of life you're giving your animal. So just because they tell you to put your goldfish in a bowl and they don't tell you about cycling doesn't mean that they're right. So please do your own research as well. You can't just rely on pet store people to give you all your information. Many chain pet stores in places like America just don't seem to care about fish and other small animals, so please be aware of that. I get so many comments saying that like my pet store said it was okay for me to put my goldfish in this like little tank or bowl, and I don't know why people do their own research, but at least you're here watching this video, that's a good start. So in my opinion, one of the most important things, especially for goldfish, is cycling your tank. I feel like it's definitely needed for all fish, but goldfish do produce a huge amount of waste, so it's definitely very important for them too. Despite them being hardy fish and known for living in terrible conditions for long periods of time, it doesn't mean that they're happy in those conditions. They just are a bit stronger than other fish and can live in terrible conditions. But yeah, that doesn't mean they're living their best lives. They're probably suffering. It's extremely important before you get any fish to do lots of research on cycling a fish tank. You can't just get a fish and the fish tank on the same day, put them in there with just tap water and they'll be fine. It's just not how it works, you know. It can take a lot of time to cycle a tank. It can take weeks to months depending on how you do it and what you use. I don't want to talk too much into cycling because it's a very long process and there's so many videos you can watch on YouTube about cycling a tank. I recommend the channel Aquarium Co-op. They make a lot of really great videos on all kinds of fish. Fish produce lots of waste which creates ammonia, and without having a cycled tank, it can't break down that ammonia and they can be poisoned by their own feces, basically. So you need to make sure you have a testing kit, because you do need to test your water, make sure your parameters are safe for fish. Some pet stores, they will test your water for free, but personally I prefer to just have my own testing kit, especially because if something seems off in your fish tank, like maybe your fish is acting weird or one of your fish dies and you're not sure why, the first thing you can do is test your water and make sure it's okay, and if it is fine, then you can figure out what the problem is from there. So yeah, please look into that. There's a lot to learn about cycling a tank, but it is very important. I also recommend joining like fish Facebook groups and stuff like that. They can be quite helpful sometimes, but also sometimes they can be not helpful, but it still can be a bit helpful sometimes. So about aquarium size. So fish bowls are unfortunately a thing in some countries, not in my country thankfully, but they are in like America and stuff, and a lot of people still don't understand that fish bowls are very, very cruel and should not be even sold in pet stores at all. No fish should live in a fish bowl, and there's a few reasons why. The main reason is because obviously fish bowls are very small. They are way too small for a goldfish. Goldfish, you know, you see them very tiny at the pet store. They actually get very, very big. My goldfish are still like not fully grown, so they're not even as big as goldfish get. Even this big boy here. Goldfish can get really huge, and keeping them in a small tank is just not suitable at all. It's not true that goldfish grow to the size of their tank. Basically, if they're in a small tank, what happens is they become stunted. Although their bodies are meant to grow bigger, they physically can't in that size tank. So it shortens their lifespan. It can make their organs grow faster than their body, which can make them die very young. It can make them deformed and cause a lot of problems, as well as the fact that fish bowls, you can't really fit what fish need in there. You can't fit a proper filter in there. Goldfish need filtration, obviously, all fish do, but goldfish do need like you know, pretty good filtration. You can't fit the proper size filter in a fish bowl. Sometimes you need a heater, not usually for goldfish unless you live in a very cold area, but you can't fit that in a fish bowl. There's not enough surface area for oxygen, as well as the bowl shape can distort their vision and stress them out because of that. So there's just so many reasons as to why bowls aren't safe for fish. Like, to me, there's just no excuse, like, when putting your fish in a bowl. There's just no reason for it, in my opinion. So the best size for one goldfish is 20 gallons, which is 75 liters, and for each added goldfish is another 10 gallons, which is 37 liters. Be aware that certain types of goldfish still might outgrow that, especially the more pond goldfish like comet goldfish and common goldfish. They can actually grow bigger than fancy goldfish, so are kind of more suited for ponds. Obviously, while your goldfish is still young, they can be okay in a bit of a smaller tank, but they will grow bigger, and it is your responsibility to be aware of that and know that you will have to upgrade their tank soon. Like, I will definitely have to upgrade my fish tank in the future, but at the moment most of my goldfish are pretty small, so they're fine how they are right now. Bigger's always better, obviously. Bigger tanks can actually be easier to clean, and goldfish do definitely appreciate the space. You do have to be aware that goldfish are social animals, so they do like to be kept with more than one goldfish, so it's best to get 2 at a time. When I say 20 gallons, I'm talking about long tanks. I'm not talking about tall tanks, because goldfish need a lot of surface area to get that oxygen in the water. Fish do need oxygen in their water. Goldfish especially like to have a lot of it, which is why you probably need some air pumps in there too. I have a big air line over here. Those very long, thin tanks don't give them enough surface area, and goldfish just don't prefer to swim up and down. They prefer to have the length, you know. I always see those horrible thin long tanks at like doctors and restaurants, and they piss me off so much. I just hate them. They're just so inconvenient for any kind of fish. So yeah, those tanks are really just not suitable for goldfish and honestly most fish species. They're just way too slim and just not enough surface area. Goldfish do produce a lot of waste, so very, very messy fish. They poop a lot. You do have to clean their tanks about once a week, sometimes twice a week if your tank's a bit smaller. Obviously, if you have like a massive tank and not many goldfish in there, you probably won't need to clean it as often if you have a powerful filter too. It's best to use a siphon to clean that out once a week. Obviously, you shouldn't do full water changes. You only need to do like 20 to 30% depending on how dirty the tank is. You don't want to crash your cycle by over cleaning. I personally enjoy cleaning my fish tanks. It's like kind of therapeutic for me, so yeah, just be aware of that. Obviously there's some maintenance to go on. Goldfish of course need filters like all fish do. I suggest you do some googling about like what filter you want for your size of tank. There's a lot of different types like canister filters, hang on back filters, sponge filters. Sponge filters are kind of more of an extra thing in a fish tank. They shouldn't be the only filter. Like, I have a sponge filter here, but I also have a regular filter over there. Hang on back filters, I've heard, are really good for goldfish tanks. Unfortunately, I can't really attach a hang on back filter to this tank because it has a weird style of lid, but I would like to get one for the future tank I have for them. Goldfish are cold water fish, so they don't need heaters unless you live in like a very cold country and you want to keep the temperature stable, but they can handle pretty cold temperatures. Like, it does get pretty cold where I live at night, and my goldfish really don't mind. Some goldfish can handle like their pond freezing over. Obviously that's not really ideal, but they can handle it. They're pretty hardy. But if you live in a very hot country where like the temperature's often like at 25 or over, goldfish really can't handle having that temperature all the time. So you may need to look into getting a chiller or something. They much prefer the colder temperature, which is why also you can't really have goldfish and tropical fish in the same tank. I've seen a lot of people do it, but I don't really like the idea. They just need such different temperatures, and goldfish really shouldn't be in tropical temperatures all the time. They can handle it for like during summer for a little bit, if it gets a bit warm in summer, but not all the time. So yeah, goldfish really should only be kept with other goldfish. I actually had minnows in here once. They ate them, so minnows are an option that can be kept with small goldfish though, but they'll probably eat them once the goldfish get bigger. But minnows are actually safe for goldfish to eat. Also, you do have to be aware that goldfish do have very long lifespans. They can actually live for up to 25 years. The record for the oldest goldfish was 45 years old. So they do have very long lifespans. It can also depend where you get your goldfish from. They are kind of inbred, so ones that you get from like the chain pet stores probably won't live as long because they're not bred to live very long. But you know, if you get them from a reputable breeder or a you know, specialty fish store, you can get some really nice goldfish that will live for a very long time. Unfortunately, I recently lost one of my goldfish. It was one of my rescue goldfish. The one with the bubble eyes. I still have one of them, but I rescued 2 of them last year, and unfortunately, just the other day, one of them passed away, which was really sad. I did kind of not expect them to live, you know, to their full lifespan, because they were kept in a very small tank for a lot of their life, with very poor conditions. There was not even a filter in there, so I was pretty upset about that. But unfortunately, if you do also rescue goldfish, which is a great option, and I recommend you do that if you can, they also may not live as long, but it's always nice to give them a good life, even if they're not as long as they should be. It's better than their conditions beforehand. So if you do want to rescue a goldfish, I recommend you have a look on places like Craigslist is an American website, I believe, where you can get pets from people. If you live in New Zealand like I do, you can look on Trade Me. There's always lots of fish on there, sometimes in really bad conditions. So I recommend it if you want to rescue a goldfish and you're experienced with fish already. It would be a very good thing to do. But don't be ashamed if you can't rescue a fish, you know, it's definitely not for everyone. They can require a bit more care sometimes and need medical attention. So if you're not up for that, that's fine. You know, there's a lot of really great breeders out there, and there is good pet stores out there too. You just want to do your own research about the pet store as well beforehand. So with decorations in your tank, you don't really need anything too special. I use sand as a substrate in my tank, which I use in all of my tanks. I just really like the look of sand. I think it looks really nice. It can get dirty easier, especially the white sand, you know, poop shows up very easily on it, but I don't really mind it because I just really like the look of it. You can use gravel, it's easy to clean, but I have heard of goldfish ingesting gravel before, so it's kind of, you know, a bit risky depending on the size of the goldfish too. Like if the gravel's small enough for the goldfish to swallow, they will probably like try and eat it because they like to dig through the sand and stuff like that, so they probably do that as well with gravel. So I wouldn't really recommend that depending on your size of goldfish. I like to have live plants in my tank. I think live plants just look really good. Sometimes goldfish can eat them, but my goldfish don't eat them. I think it depends on how often you feed them, because my guys don't seem to eat my plants. Plants also do help with, like, you know, having a stable cycle in your tank a bit. Unfortunately, my plants don't look amazing right now because it is winter here in New Zealand, and since the tank's gone quite cold now, the plants are very slowly growing. Like in summer they grow quite well, but in winter they start to slow down. So I really have some Java fern in here, and I have some Java moss, which seem to do well in cold water tanks. They just, at the moment, don't look very nice, to be honest. They just kind of look like a dark green instead of a light green. But I mean, they're still fine, it just doesn't look as great during the cold months. I haven't had much luck with cold water plants. I think they're just harder to come across here in New Zealand, but there is a lot out there that you can try out if you want. You do want to be careful with fake plants because there is a lot of plastic plants that can be quite sharp on fancy goldfish's fins, so do be careful about that. You don't want anything that's too sharp that could scratch their fins. Same with any kind of decoration, really. You don't want anything that could hurt them. There's so many products out there you can use on your aquarium. Personally, I like to use Prime. It's the best stuff I've used in my aquarium. It's basically a dechlorinated as well as detoxifies ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates. I use it on all my tanks. I think it's probably the best dechlorinator you can get because it works as other things too. I use a little bit of Flourish in my tank too for the plants, which isn't totally necessary, but you know, I recommend having some medication on hand for just in case, like some emergencies. Indian almond leaf is always good to have on hand, as well as like worming medication you might need for goldfish, especially rescue ones. They probably will need some deworming. There's so much treatment out there. I don't really know the names of the ones you can get in other countries, so I'm not much help with that, but you know, you can do your own research on that. I know there's like way more fish medication in America than there is in New Zealand. We don't actually get a lot of it here, which kind of sucks. You guys get like so much cool medications that we don't get here. So yeah, that is some information about goldfish. I'm sure there's a lot more out there that I might have missed. Feel free to add things in the comments that I forgot in this video, and make sure to do your own research as well. There's a lot to learn with keeping fish. And it's not as easy as you might think. So I hope this video could help you guys decide whether or not you want to get a goldfish. Feel free to let me know what other videos you'd like to see on my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!